Welcome back to Rules to Thrive. I'm excited to welcome a dear friend of mine, Marie-Michèle Caron, who I met while managing a partnership with Salesforce many moons ago. Marie is from Quebec, Canada. Marie's American dream started when her company Coveo offered her a relocation to the US to build a partnership with Salesforce in San Francisco. Marie helped Coveo go from 10 to 100 million and through a successful IPO. She then took an opportunity at Thryv to help small businesses thrive and is currently a CRO at Tempo. Marie and I discuss leadership, motherhood, and so many more things. Tune in.
Welcome.
Thank you
I
so
can't
much.
believe we are making this happen. This is season 2, and I couldn't think of a better story to add to our immigration journeys because yours is very unique. And we've been friends for many years and worked together for many years, so I'm excited. Let's start with an introduction, Marie. If you want to tell us, where were you born, a little bit about you, how did you land in the US, and what do you do now?
Absolutely. Well, thanks. First of all, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to get the chance to reconnect with you and share a little bit of my story. So thank you for that. So my name is Marie. Actually, my name is Marie-Michèle Caron.
That's so much prettier than whatever we say in English.
That's so much French,
Yeah, so much more French.
Born and raised in Quebec City, Canada. I grew up there. I went to school there. Actually, I started my career in tech in Quebec City, joined a startup in the enterprise search space back then. And that's really what my journey to the United States kind of is correlated to my career. I had the opportunity to move to California for that specific company, and that kind of made me experience the reality of being an immigrant. So you're talking about the immigrant journey. It is a journey. It is a journey. It's a very special journey. It's a very exciting journey with a lot of ups and downs. But yeah, no, it's been great. So
So what was the opportunity? Take me through it. So you're done with school, you start your first job, and they're offering it to you, or there was an opportunity, you raised your hand and said, I want to do this.
yeah, more the latter. So I had a couple of couple of jobs out of college, and then landed at Coveo. So that was very very much like the corners the stepping stone of my
Yeah.
career.
You were there for almost 10 years?
Almost 10 years,
yeah.
all the way to taking the company public a few years ago. So it was a wonderful journey, and I'm sure we're gonna get a chance to talk a little bit more about that. But I don't think I would have had the career that I have or be the person that I am without having Coveo, and specifically are anchored around the immigration story. So Coveo originally was, again, founded in Quebec City, and at one point they wanted to invest in the United States, and um, we had an opportunity. A few of us, I don't know, I believe I was one of the first one to really kind of come into the United States and open the American office, and there were a few Americans on site, but I had the opportunity to really kind of move my life here. So that was the opportunity. I raised my hand. I moved. I was responsible for alliances, global alliances back then, and Salesforce was a big partner of ours. Salesforce was a quarter here at San Francisco, so it just kind of all made sense.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you chose immediately San Francisco, open an office nearby the office. What was the process like? Was it a visa process? What did they decide? Did the company help you? The reason I'm asking is because I think in today's world, immigration has a negative connotation. And we were just talking about it yesterday, but 55% of $1 billion organizations from startup to $1 billion were founded by immigrants. Think of all the logos we hear at NVIDIA, Intel, Google, Procter and Gamble, Instagram, all founded by immigrants from all over the world. Tesla. I think it's pretty crazy what we're going through now as a world around immigration and this negative connotation around it. But it's a process, and it's a very long process, and it's not an easy process. I feel like people just imagine people jumping all over the wall and they're in the US. Like, take us through so you raise your hand.
Yep.
And then the company takes the steps to get you the visa and help you move. How was that process for you?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
So I was very fortunate to be sponsored by the company, so that made the whole process extremely, I guess, a lot easier for me than probably anyone else. So the reality is I was able to enter through what originally was called an L1A, so kind of a business executive visa, and then work for the company on American soil. But I was very much attached to Coveo.
Yeah.
And then Coveo also took the leap of faith to really further continue the investment and allow me to kind of apply to the green card and sponsor the green card process. So
That's amazing. There are companies that standing tall behind the talent, and I think the American dream and the openness of America is to bring the talent from all over the world to empower the economy. And I feel like we need to continue to amplify that. So I'm curious, from your personal standpoint, what was your first what did you think the American dream looked like? So you said, I'm raising my hand, I'm moving to San Francisco. Did you have a vision what it would look like for you?
yeah, I think that's a great question. I think we were kind of all raised on the American dream being like the white picket fence, the family, the dog, the American dream, massive house, massive land.
Yeah.
Granted, I grew up in Canada. For me, access to land was probably similar to the United States, but still, the American dream for me was the way I grew up was very much that image. I will say at the time I raised my hand and said I want to go and take a leap of faith and try the United States as a land for me to build a life on.
Yeah.
The American dream had evolved. And I think it's also a representation. And what got me excited also about the company I joined after Coveo, joined a company called Thryv, where, going back to your question around the American dream, I believe the American dream now is very much centered around the ability for the individual to figure out a way to provide for its family, not necessarily being part of either a government function or a corporation. So the ability for an individual in the United States to self-serve, build its business as a dream, whether it's a roofing company, a hairdresser salon, a pet grooming company.
Yeah.
There's the ability for American individual to really build that life for them. So for me, that the definition of the American dream and that it has very much evolved. And going back to Thryv, and the reason why I chose to kind of join this company was very much centered around that newer American dream. Thryv was providing or still provides a software for small businesses owner to go and compete. So I don't believe in the world where my only option for coffee is Starbucks, or I like my local coffee shop.
Yeah.
And the locality of our businesses I think is very important. I joined this company because I was asked to go and export that. I was responsible for international expansion, so I was asked to basically export the newer American dream. So
That's a big shift.
yeah, but I think this is the power of the United States of America to really empower
And evolve.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah. What does your American dream look like now?
Well, just got the whole family situated. So I'm lucky enough to have two beautiful children, a little boy and a little girl. So that is certainly part of the American dream. I think it's part of it. I would evolve that, and not it's part of a woman's dream. You find a lot of meaning and purpose once you become a mother. At least that's my experience. I used to be, and still I'm very driven by work, and it makes me fulfilled. But then, when it's 5 o'clock and you go home to your kiddos and they just give you that big hug, you're like, all right, that's right. That's why I'm actually working hard. And there's a sense of legacy and fulfillment
Yeah.
that,
That evolved.
yeah. So I don't know if it's the American dream. I think it's probably the woman's dream.
I think you and I went through a very similar evolution of career and being super, super driven. And I think there's so many people that ask me about this, and I don't always have the answers. I'd love to hear your perspective. I feel like our season 1 was literal preparation for me to go have children. So now, which happened,
which
everyone
working on.
manifested. Yes, everyone manifested. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. So you move for career. You build your career, build an incredible legacy with Coveo. You then move forward with a different company, but then you meet your other half and you decide to have children. I think the perspective I'd love for you to cover is, how do you find balance between being so driven, and that doesn't go away, right? And having to start balancing that with having a family, having children, not being in your home country? Like, what does that look like for you?
I mean, I don't know if I have it figured out quite
I
yet.
don't think a lot of people do, but it's so good to hear perspectives because I don't think we talk about it enough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wish I could come up and say, this is the magic recipe. This is how it works. The reality is every week I've got to open up the calendar and figure out how am I going to get to Friday
Yeah.
without, my kids missing me too much. The reality is I think one of the good advice I had early that I'd love to pass on is to not compromise on your support system. Um, it is costly, but it is worth it, especially coming from the woman's side. You spend, whether or not you choose to breastfeed the children, but you spend a fair amount of time with the babies when they're very young. You go through that phase of like them being really inside of you and then attached to you, and then you know through that phase while you're still, in my case, still being employed and building the career that I had and still loving what I did. There was finding that balance. And I think if I would have wanted to, first of all, try to compromise on everything, I just went all in with support system and chose to make that an investment versus a spend. And when you start looking at this like this, it's like you're investing in yourself. You're investing in, I don't know, a life coach, a therapist, a gym, whatever, membership.
Yeah.
Support system is just, it's a line item in the budget. You just and make it an investment. It's gonna, it's gonna save you. So that's number one. The other thing is the ability to uh the guilt aspect. You have to learn that, to let go. Everybody's carrying their cross. I don't know if my kids are probably going to carry crosses because of the decisions I've made. Hopefully at the end of the day, it's going to be a net positive, but ultimately, I mean, you have to let go of the guilt. I know it's super easy to say. I've got literally a text that happened this morning saying your kid misses you at daycare. Please give him a call.
But you did.
And which I did.
And
I
what
did at
happened?
lunchtime. And he didn't even remember
Exactly.
he missed me. Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but yes, I think we have to, and then the last thing I'd like to say on that is the ability to your definition of success needs to evolve. And what I mean by that is you go win the day, go win the year and all of that. Yes, but sometimes the kid's sick. You can't
Can't do
you
anything.
can't do anything.
Yeah.
And nobody can take care of him. So
Yeah.
you got to go and so it's a balance. I think what for me it was learning to play the long game versus every day going all in and winning every day.
Yeah.
I feel like now I'm very much in a marathon versus a sprint.
Yeah. And I think that's a big evolution that you've given me advice. And I've been so lucky to just call you and say, how do I do this? I'm so used to the sprints and the career we're in, and the tech has been always a sprint, but also a marathon. So you kind of do both at the same time. You kind of go off very, very hard to grow, especially in the growth that you've been able to build in the companies you're in.
10 to 100, and it was from basically 0 to 75% of the net new coming from partners.
Which is
So,
insane. Like it's
yeah,
insane
at the moment
volume.
when we listed on the exchange. So yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah.
But you were right. Like we were sprinting every day. And
So going from that to, okay, not that you're stepping away from your ambitions, you're not, but you're saying I need to make room for more. I think that's so hard for anyone that is both career driven. And one of the advices you've given me, which I'm trying to incorporate, and I'll tell you, I haven't been able to kind of frame it yet, but half time.
yeah, exactly.
So far, is you said, don't compromise what's important to you. Understand what's important to you. And I think something that you've done that was really, really cool is you've just went all in with your babies, right? You said, you know what, this is what I want to do. And that to me sounded nuts, but you said, I gave it a shot. So
Yeah.
take me through that decision process. What was that for you?
Yeah, so for me, I feel like life is very much there are seasons in life, and when you're choosing a season, or I don't know if you're choosing a season, maybe the season chooses you, but I went all in the Coveo days. We took the company public, and that was a huge milestone. And then at that time, I was pregnant with my first child, and then I had the opportunity to kind of after that take a few months to decide what I wanted to do next. And the reality is I decided to go all in being a mother because this is absolutely what I wanted to do. There was no business meeting more important than missing, my child waking up. And guess what? For baby number 2, it was not the case. And that's what I mean by there are seasons in life, and allow yourself to just, it's not because you've been someone for the last, or chosen to prioritize this for the last 10 years, that you have to prioritize this for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's not because you had one baby and you chose one system that this is going to be the exact same system for the second baby or
Yeah.
the third or the fourth. You just got to own it. And I will say, it let go of the guilt. Just do what's right. Obviously for your family and
Yeah.
obviously for your kids, don't go crazy. But when you try to balance everything, I think you've got to give yourself permission to change your mind and
Adjust.
adjust. And if you want to be like, I was on a walk with my kid every day and I loved it. And the second one, I just couldn't wait to go back and like try to figure out how to grow this asset again.
Yeah. And I think there's some negative connotation around it, right? Which we need to remove that stigma. It's okay to be ambitious. It's okay to also want to take time off. And I think I love that we're talking about this because we don't talk about this enough, right? Every country is different. I don't know. Actually, do you know what the maternity leave is in Canada versus like US is nothing, but
it's completely different. The maternity leave is a year for women.
Yeah.
And I forget how much it is for father. I want to say like 5 weeks to 2 months, and you can interchange. But it's a full year, and it's totally fine and accepted. And legally, you have to re-employ the employee at the same level.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally fine. We're protecting our female leaders and our female, and I think it's great. But I will say, if you're running a software company and the software company is publicly traded and you got to go and report to the street every quarter, well, it's going to be hard to leave for a year and not replacing you. And I think that's also a conversation we should be having. It's okay to take a year off, but it's also okay to want to come back if you choose to.
Yeah. No, I've had a boss, my first boss, who had a baby and was at work the next day. And I was like, well, that's crazy. But it's what she wanted to do, right? And I'm like, I don't know if you're still together if you're one person, but it's different. So I think it's an important conversation to have. So I'm curious, take me through how you grew up, like take me through your family and before you moved, what did that look like? And how is your family now a part of the family you've built in the US?
Yeah, so normal family. My parents were, my mom was a healthcare worker. My dad was working for the government. So I guess very much middle class, great family, loved very much. And I, great relationship with my parents. Moved to the U.S. I thought it was going to be temporary. So I at least that's how I sold it to them. Or I guess sold it to myself. And then, I'm over 10 years living here.
Yeah.
To your question and how you want to incorporate that, one of the things that matters to me is also the origin. And I want my kids to know that. So I'm originally from, again, Quebec City. My native language is French. I want them to speak French and understand the culture. So my family is still very much involved. My brother and his 2 children are about the same age as my kids. And we've figured out a setup, like a physical setup where we can go and spend time together with our family.
I love that.
And the reality is, I feel like my kids, even though we are alone in California, are not alone because we've got our tribe back home. It's funny. I back home for me still
is Canada.
Yeah. We've got our tribe back home. Yeah.
There was a guest on our podcast who wrote a book about her immigration journey that she talks about a concept of a split heart. It immediately triggered. So if you think about it, for any immigrant they left home, but that's no longer really a home. You don't feel like you truly 100% belong there. Yeah. And you're not even accepted by your own people because they think you're American now.
I know.
And in America, they don't accept you either. Yeah. So you're kind of like, where am I?
Yeah.
So I love that, you still say home.
Yeah.
But where is home?
Where is home?
Yeah. What does that look like?
I had this conversation with my mother, which brought me a lot of peace. It's going to sound like super simple, but I had this exact moment in time where I was like, Mom, home's like Canada, home's like California, where's home and all that. And she was like, why are you trying to have just one home? You've never wanted to have one home. Why don't you have two homes?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty simple. That works for me. So I I'm making peace that I'm going to call home California. I'm going to call home Quebec City, and hopefully, home is going to be in Europe in a few years too.
Yeah.
So
You said your mom was a healthcare worker. Your dad worked in the government. Why tech?
they didn't. So I got lucky. I don't think I could. I became I have become very focused and very driven into my decision, and my decision are becoming a lot more thought through and planned. Back then, I had no idea. Like, I was still kind of semi bartending in Spain and figured out I'd have to come back home,
Yeah.
which was Canada then,
First,
and try to
yes.
get a career. And I landed in tech. I think I got very lucky. The reality is, not only have I landed in tech, which I think is an amazing industry to go, um, have a career, I also landed in a company that was incredible. So, and I stuck along for a portion of the ride. The company's still doing fantastic. I've no longer with them, but I've been very lucky to land in the industry and at the company. So that's why I think it really shaped me and gave me so many opportunities. I'm going to be forever grateful for that.
Yeah. I was also debating, like, what does that look like? What does success look like? And, coming from a Ukrainian family, was being a doctor or being a lawyer, and tech is not a thing. Like, my parents still don't know how to explain what I do. So I think tech is such an interesting, even now, I'd be curious how, we were in a different day and age when we got into partnerships back in the day. How do you think people get into the roles we're in now? How do we empower new generations to get into our world?
Yeah. You're asking great questions. This is like, it's like, it goes back to, and I'm going to answer your question, but if you allow me a little detour, I'm like, what are my kids going to learn at school? Like, what sort of job should they be going
But it's
after? It
important.
is important, but at the same time, my parents weren't telling me what to do. I had to figure it out myself.
That's
and
true.
So I think, the reality is the similar behavior is going to be expected. Like, what I'm trying is I'm building agency for my kids. This is my number one. Go figure out a way to make a living for yourself.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, how do we empower? You're right. When we started in partnership, we didn't have. Did we have an iPhone?
No.
No.
I think I had my first one.
First one
Yeah.
right there. But I used to have a flip phone, and I was hiding it because I was so ashamed. So
Oh, you would hide
'cause
it?
I would hide it because everybody had iPhones then, and I was too cheap to buy myself an iPhone.
It worked.
It worked.
The best part was when you're angry flipping the phone. I missed that. You can't throw this thing. It's over $1,000.
I know.
No
Over
matter how
$1,000.
much money I'll ever make, I'll never throw my iPhone against the wall. But the flip phone,
You could do whatever
Yeah,
you wanted
exactly.
with it. Losing the bat, and it
Oh,
still
that's
worked. Yeah.
hilarious.
So how do we empower the next generation was your question. I think they are teaching us how we can help them. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to go back again. I'm going on a detour here, but one of the things, obviously AI has been impacting. One of the things that I'm seeing, the younger generation's behavior change is the ability for them to interact with information. Um, we are a generation of search, query, and then we're giving you results that
Yeah.
you're going to go visit. They are having conversation with LLMs, and this is changing the entire way I'm thinking about managing and communicating updates with my team. How accessing information and all of that. So going back to your question, how do we empower the younger generation to do successful partnership? I can't wait for them to show us how it's going to have to
Yeah.
be done. Like, the reality is, they're going to create a way to drive, preference, awareness for a brand that is going to be wildly different than how you and I have done it.
Yeah.
So yes, I can share best practices, but those were 15 years ago. And I think it's still, basic fundamentals still applies. I think, the ability to connect with people really matters. But I think they're going to figure out a way to drive that, again, referral motion, joint go-to-market motion that's going to be widely different. And I think it's going to be very conversational because of the AI changes that we're seeing. So I can't wait to see what's going to be next.
I agree with you. I had this chat this morning, which kind of gave me this step back to think about what's happening in our world. And I think our world is so human oriented, right? Partnerships are not built when you sign a contract. No. Not even close. How many contracts did we sign that went nowhere? Come on. But it's built with the human connection. So to me, and I saw this today, there was an AI bot, because we have at Monday.com, we have so many thousands of partners signing up, and it could be like a 1-person company, 20-person company, and a 500-person company, because of the brand being so strong. So I think about, Salesforce days, same thing, right? They had ISV sign up, SI sign up. And what was introduced recently is an AI bot that called the person who signed up to become a partner. So that to me was a little bit pause, because we would pick up the phone,
of course,
and call the person. So there was two things that I saw happen. One partner that just recently signed up said, turn this off. I don't want AI bot calling me. And the other one, the newer generation, not the millennials, it's the next one, actually talked to the bot and gave all the information so that the next call was scheduled. So that was interesting to me.
Interesting.
But I would say what I'm more excited about, and I'm sure you'll agree, is, do you remember how long it took us to do one-pagers and content?
Oh, yeah.
Take that.
Oh, yeah. And get that approved. And then, oh, yeah.
So what do you think? What are you seeing? Because you're a CRO. You're overseeing sales, marketing, partnerships, everything. What do you see evolve that we didn't have before when we started?
Yeah. I mean, so I think the ability to iterate is one trend that I'm seeing really us anchor on, at least at Tempo. As you mentioned before, the process of ideation, content creation, and iteration was taking forever. Now it's like it takes half a second, and it's on the content creation side all the way to not just in the content creation, but again, how we're interacting with the information and how we're interacting with each other. So the ability to iterate is probably one trend. What has changed. The ability also to be relevant at the individual level is a promise that we had growing up, whether it was a web content management system that was saying like personalizing this and personalizing that, or all the way to Salesforce promising a 360-degree view of the customer. The reality is, nowadays I am seeing my team being able to really personalize and at the individual level their message, because of our ability to not only collect information about the users through the different system, but consolidate all of that quickly.
Yeah.
And I think this is extremely powerful. I am also receiving those personalized email communication and or even phone calls, and I used to be like completely dismissive, and now like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's so tailored to me.
To you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My most personalized thing that I used to do, which makes me so embarrassed, but I'm telling it. When I just started working with Salesforce, there was hundreds of people would meet. So I would put my phone on audio record when I would be in a meeting, just so I'd remember names, stories. And people thought I was the most thoughtful person ever, because I would remember everything that was said. I would just like go after my notes, remember what I'd say, write them down, make little notes like, this person loves this restaurant, or this person's son's birthday is this. I'm curious. So let's pivot back to you coming to the country. You speak English, you're from Canada, so it's not, it is cultural differences, but you're also a French native speaker. When you entered the room, was there ever a moment for you where you felt like you needed to adapt and adjust? Do you remember anything that stood out to you, and how did you handle it?
I think yes, but I don't think it's unique to expats, or it's even unique to women. I think we can easily answer that question saying I was the youngest, I was the only female, I think we've all been in rooms where it was that. But I think the way I'd offer to answer that question is, once you there's certain rooms that you enter at a certain level of your career where they're just harder rooms to enter. And whether you're the CEO, is whatever is your title, you probably do feel at one point or ooh,
Yeah.
maybe not the right fit. So for me specifically, again, the whole imposter syndrome, you got to get over it. Meaning I'm an imposter all the time. And the first one to say, listen, this is out of my comfort zone. Someone else is, more qualified. I just recently hired some new folks on my team and I'm like humble. I could go work for any one of those guys. They're like, and gals, they're wonderful. Like, so do I feel like, yes, how do you overcome it? Yeah, you just know that everybody around the table at one point is just we're just trying our best, and the reality is I want to go win. So
Yeah.
whoever is around the table wants to go win. Let's go together.
I think I get a lot of questions from our audience is how do you get over the fear? So I'll be honest with you, I answer and I say, if you have the seat at the table, take it and go with it and be authentic to yourself. But I feel like people who get the seat at the table, they're trying to blend in, merge in, sound similar. What is your advice? So you're at the table and you've been at many different executive tables at a young age, which is amazing opportunity. You took it, you ran with it. What would be your advice if you're scared? You're getting in the room and you're like, I don't think I'm a fit, but I'm just going to roll with it. How do you do it?
The advice I tell my kid, like I would tell them, just I don't know if I should say that, just suck it up. I mean, I don't know what else to do. Like, if it was easy, other ones would have done it.
Yeah.
I've got a dear mentor that used to say that all the time. And then the reality is just like, be ahead of no, it's not even preparing. It's just, you got to do it because that's your job. You're mandated you owe that to your team. You owe that to your family. You owe that to yourself. Just figure it out. It's probably not the best advice. It's the how you do it. You just put your mind at it and you figure out a solution.
And what would your advice be? So we're sucking it up, we're sitting at the table. Speaking up. How do you what's your advice about framing? And I think there is an important piece here because I do think there's been rooms where I'm saying that is just talking for the sake of talking to be top of mind. I want to empower our audience to be strategic when they're speaking. How do you recommend framing and speaking when you do speak up?
I think it depends on who you are. In my case, I would say speak less, listen more, because I don't have, I'm the speaker. Like in my case, my advice to someone like me would be to listen more.
Yeah.
Then you're going to pick up on the cues and probably add more value than just wanting to talk. To someone that's a little bit more, on the cautious side, I'd say the opposite. So I guess to answer your question, I'd probably say try to do counterintuitive than to that's at least that's how I would frame it up for myself. Listen more and speak less. Some folks, it's speak more because your voice needs to be heard and clearly you'd be adding value to the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. I think it depends on the title, depends on your role in the room.
Correct.
And I think maybe one of the things we talk about is it's not about singing Kumbaya and being on the same page. If you genuinely feel in your gut that there could be a different way, it's about voicing that in a respectful way is really important. That's how you create diversity of opinion in the room, right?
Yeah.
But also maybe for my advice is, first few meetings in those rooms, if you don't feel confident about your opinion, listening is also as equally important no matter what role you're in, just to see what kind of interactions are happening around you. Yeah. And then contributing, I think, would be as equally important, just in a very strategic way. So I agree.
There's a time for everything too. And sometimes the time is not when the conversation is happening to better influence that outcome,
What do you think you've taken from your family of how you've grown up that you took to the business world with you? Any traditions, any sayings from your family?
There's multiple sayings that I've taken. There's one say that I think it's kind of French Canadian, and it's like bad news don't get better with time.
I like it.
And it's I've heard that a lot from back home. I've heard it from folks at Coveo also. They use this expression, and I've carried it with me, and it's very anchored. Now it's like, listen, let's face it. Let's be transparent. Let's figure out a solution. And, bad news will get better with time.
I
Whether
love
it's
it.
like the strategy, the human capital, the support system, the budget. Like, let's just, if it's not going to work, let's just call it out. So that, I don't know if it's a French Canadian or Canadian way to do business, but that's something that the other thing is so specific to French Canadian, because we're it's a very small group of the population in Canada, and then ultimately we had to go and fight for my parents and grandparents fought to kind of keep French as the main language and all that. So there's a whole legacy around protecting the language. So I think there's a whole set of of um, empathy that comes from not being native English speaking in a country like Canada. So I think I brought that here too. Whether you're whatever is whatever is the cross that you carry,
Yeah.
just having a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
But still, let's go to work.
Yeah.
Bad news don't get better with time.
Yeah.
Let's keep moving.
No, I love it. I love it. What do you think? What do you think some traditions you took from your family to your newly formed family? Not so newly, but what do you think you've taken?
Building agency comes from very much from my mother. So this is I don't know if it's a tradition, but I have broken bones. I have failed, and she could have done it for me, and that was something that was she really pushed me towards.
You handling it?
Correct.
So when do you start? From early age with your kids?
In my case, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it can cause friction with the other adults in the room, especially in a country like America,
Yeah.
where the overprotection, and even at daycare, like it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But it's you adjust, and then you also learn with your kids or through your kids that their resilience that they have. These kids are super resilient, and I think if you let them, they'll really impress you, even at as young as 2 or 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah, I think there is so much in storytelling about, how we become so tough when we're younger. But I think as a kid, if I look back at tough moments, you just had to deal with it. There was no other options. There was no plan B. You just have to learn how to deal. And I think that creates resilience. And especially in what I'm worried about is I had to create resilience and grit because I was in the situation of immigration. I came to the U.S. in a different state. I immigrated with my parents, and we didn't have any financial stability at the time. So that grit and resilience was built then. Your grit and resilience was built because you were on your own. You came in. But how do you instill that in your kids? And I think that's
the agency is one thing, and I'd offer not a counter argument, but I'd offer also something additional. You let them trial, but one thing that at least I was provided, and with that I'm seeing it for my kids, I also provide them not a safety net, because that's not. But I go back to when you're a kid and you play tag and you go and you run, and then there's always a goal where you don't get no one gives you the tag because you're touching the goal.
Yeah.
There's kids that are going to go and run and run and run, and they never have a goal that they can go take a deep breath. I was the kid that could go and venture really, really far because I could always go back to the goal. And then, summers where I'd go by myself for months, in all parts of the world. And, why? Well, because at the end of the summer when I was exhausted, I'd go back home and safety was there.
Yeah.
So you build agency and all of that. And I don't know if it's a safety net because it's not the right word, but you provide a space where that your child can come back
to.
Yeah, to base camp.
Yeah.
And then go back and climb another mountain.
I think that's really important. The base camps. Base camps is what our parents provide, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get some spicy questions in.
I thought those were pretty spicy.
Let's see what you think. What do you think immigrants intuitively understand about survival in the US that Americans might miss?
But they understand about survival.
Yeah, surviving and thriving in this country.
Like how to be successful, how to survive and thrive.
Yeah, that Americans may take for granted or miss.
I think immigrants don't have the bias that Americans have about the schooling system. And I don't like I just recently understood, like I'm 10 years in living in this country. I just recently understood how important it is for college and where college you go at. I never cared which college I go out. I've never looked at application or applicants that came from college. I cared about what have they done outside of going to school and were they working and all that. Long story short, I think immigrants understand that, or they don't have the bias that Americans have about, or the stigma about which college they went at.
Didn't matter.
It's a non-issue, at least for Canada. It's it's subsidized, so it's all free college or semi-free education, so it's all leveled a little bit more. So
we are living in such a different day and age that we can take our knowledge and take it globally and apply it because of technology, which is such a huge shift. So I'm curious, do you think that will stay for our kids and that will evolve?
yeah, it is so very well said, and I have a strong opinion that this is it's gonna continue even further more. I think the access, going back to our comment about what should our kids be studying in school, the access to knowledge is highly democratized in this day and age. You can access the Stanford classes online now.
That's true.
And I don't know if you don't get the degree, but you get the content, you get the insights out of it. And now what you choose to do with it is the agency part. But I think you're right. We have to recognize, the other generation prior to you and I's generation of immigrants.
Yeah.
They had it a lot harder than you and I. And not only their degree was not recognized, also they were penalized because they weren't speaking the language. Whereas as now it's like, oh, it's so nice, you speak French and it doesn't matter your accent. I know a lot of folks that never learned their native tongue because their parents were so ashamed of their Spanish. So they never spoke Spanish to their kids.
Yeah. That's one of the things I noticed, and I'm trying to remember, I came in 2000s, and when I came, I met a lot of Ukrainians and Russian speakers who didn't pretend like they didn't. And it was such a weird age because we were teenagers, and now they do. So
now they're super proud.
Yeah, it's an evolution. So I think that is so important to maintain, and I love that you're making sure that your kids are speaking French. I'm trying to remember all the lullabies and that my mom sang me in Ukraine, and I fell asleep to my husband playing a lullaby in his language yesterday.
What's his language?
He's from Belarus, so they have their own lullabies. I'm like, all right, this works. Good night.
Go to bed.
That was it. Was there a time where you wanted to give up and kept going anyway? What kept you going?
There's so many times. Well, I don't know if I deeply wanted to give up.
What comes to mind?
Trying to think, if you really want to give up, like I want to course correct. I want to change direction. I don't know if I really want to give up. But there are, especially in the personal front, sometimes there's like, I just want to give up. Like this is not going to work, and you just move on. But what do you do about it? I think it's again, you got to give yourself grace. It's like I don't want to go work out. I still go work out. Sometimes you just got to do it, but at the same time, if you're not going, it's fine. I think there's profound decisions in life. And that's probably where your question is anchored. Like profound decision, or like you wanted to give up and you choose not to. I think we all go through that. The reality is once you're on the other side and time has passed, you're like, it wasn't that hard.
Yeah.
So, there has been, I don't know if I can point to one, or at least not now that's coming to mind.
Okay.
I feel like there are times that I wanted to give up, but you cross correct. You just change direction, and you try to, when a door closes, go up in another one.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree with you. I think
in partnership.
If we do that all the time.
You do that all the time. You've been says, yeah, so do you want to give up? Sure, I'll give up with Accenture. And then in 6 months, I want to talk to me. Anyways. Let me go talk to PwC.
Exactly. No, I remember in partnerships when I did 2 stunts at Salesforce ecosystem, and both got acquired.
That's right.
And then.
So we met?
Yeah, that's how we met. And I was like, for me, I think it's always like, was I lucky or was I strong? And it's such a weird connotation where I need to prove it to myself I can do it again and again and again. And it's fun. It's fun. It's hard. But like, at what point do I believe that I know what the hell I'm doing? But that's on me. That's therapy. So I think it's one of those things where if you want to give up, I think it's about creating your non-negotiables and understanding why, but it's also not giving up per se. I think it's about understanding what are your blockers, right? And moving through them. And like you said, if it's not this, then it's next, and it's the next opportunity. I agree. I'm curious. This one, I like this question. What lie did you believe about yourself as a kid because of where you came from? Did you have anything?
Because of where I come from. This is such a good question. I really, really thought so. I really thought French was spoken by everybody. Like that was a lie and then all of a sudden people around me don't speak the language. I'm like, what is happening? And I remember this being very young and realizing, why do I not understand? I need to know what these people are saying. And so that's probably the lie. I don't know if it's a lie that I believe, but I really thought everybody was speaking
Everyone
the
speaks
same
French.
language.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a world of language. And it's funny because now my 4 years old is like, oh, because his nanny speaks Spanish. So we'll go Spanish, English, French, doesn't even notice. And he's like, oh, mama, what's this language? Like, he knows at 4 years old that someone, we've got friends that are Nepalese, and what is this language? And I'm like, wow, you know there's languages. I didn't even know that at your
It was
age.
gibberish, right? I was trying to remember when I was little, we started in the 90s, the US MTV music was coming to TV. And we were all trying to sing what Britney Spears was singing or whatever, Backstreet Boys or you name it. And I just think about like all the nonsense we were trying to say because we wouldn't understand the words. And my husband is saying like, I finally understand the songs that same, right?
Same. I'm like, was I really singing that?
Yeah, what were we singing?
I know.
It was just sounds that made no sense. No, it's hilarious. That was one of the things, like I thought I knew what I was singing and what was coming out of my mouth, but it was not even
Such
close.
a good one. The amount of like nonsensical thing I was singing.
Yeah.
Because I was singing sound.
Yeah,
not
it
words.
was just sound. It was just
That's
sound.
funny. I can totally relate.
What is your favorite success story from one of the folks you hired and seen develop?
Oh my goodness, I've got so many of them.
Because you went from 0 to 50 at some point at Coveo, and I'm sure your
favorite success story, I've got two that are different. Obviously, someone that starts who doesn't necessarily have the confidence and then realizes they can do it. And then you realize that you're influencing their whole career because after that, they've got they land this wonderful job, and then they're up to, but someone gave them their first job. I think this is very rewarding and very valuable for any people manager. One thing that for me was also very rewarding and very humbling was the first time I hired someone more senior than me that would work for me. And I was like, but why? Why'd you want to come? Are you sure? And be like, I signed the offer. I've got an email address with @coveo.com. Of course I'm sure. And I'd be like, why? And I'd still question. And then for me, what was very rewarding is to see that person would still find success. And again, to this date, I'd go work for him.
yeah.
To this date, he's a wonderful, and his career has progressed so much, but being able to help the one that are more junior, but also being able to bring in someone more senior and still have that person be successful, I think is very, very humbling.
But I think it's such an important trait to have as a leader, because what I see and is a big missed opportunity for people that are put in a manager's positions, hire people that are very similar to themselves that they feel they can control. I think that's a failure as a leader. And I think that what you're bringing up is so important. If you're managing and you're hiring people smarter than you, hiring people older than you, hiring people brighter than you is such a strength.
Yeah.
And I think that fear is a silly fear. Yeah. I know I understand what you're talking about because I've become a VP very early, and I remember hiring people older than me, and I'm like, why would you come here?
Right. And the feeling of it after that, right? You can probably talk to that yourself because it's such a it's a challenge. It's humbling and yet challenging. And like to this date, again, there's folks that are choosing to come work at Tempo, and I'm like, really? You sure? Whew.
You sure with me?
You sure you want to do
Yeah,
this?
you want to do this with me? I got you, but do I?
Do I?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I think it's such a strength, and I think it's so important. So for anyone who is looking to hire, especially now, hiring is so important to hire good people. In the economy we're in, hiring people better than you, smarter than you, more talented than you is so much more important. And of course, giving people a shot. I feel like this is the scary part of the economy where we have so many younger generations that don't have the specialization that people are looking for, and giving them that chance will pay dividends. Because the way I think about the discrepancy in AI that scares me, and I don't know how you feel about this, I'd love to hear your opinion, is we're starting to hire more and more senior people in AI, and we're not teaching the younger generation. So that scares me, because what happens when those folks retire and there's no one that, how you had
Yeah.
junior QA and junior developers, not that I know anything in engineering, but what do you think? How do we empower?
Again, I think corporate America is going to go through yet another shift. I think we're going to see is as a result, people are very resilient, and I think that younger generation is also going to rise through that. So I think one of the things we're seeing is that the whole gig economy that's really emerging. So that individual worker that's making a living. Again, going back to the American dream. I don't know if this is the definition of it, but I think there's a so going back to your question, that I agree that discrepancies that are being because of AI, agreed. But I think there's going to be a lot more consultant like, I think we're going to be the ability to tap into talent will be less on a normal kind of W-2 payroll. I think we're going to start interacting with talent. At probably, yeah. Is it good or not for the younger generation? Again, I think they're very resilient, and they're gonna adapt to
I
it.
love that opinion. I didn't think about it. Like, you were basically saying we're teaching the younger generation to be entrepreneurial faster.
I think so.
And because they will go through that, they will build so much grit very
That's right.
quickly. I love that opinion. And
Yeah.
I think that just gives everyone more of a go get it type of mentality versus don't fall into the corporate world of fear of
Exactly.
not getting a job. No, I
Exactly.
love that perspective. I think it's super important. Okay, my favorite question to ask. If you were to say, here are my 3 rules to thrive, what are they?
Phew. Don't be fearful. The whole concept of guilt also is very important. You can't be guilty. I don't believe in guilt as an anchor, especially to thrive in life. But then also the concept of being like the greed also is I guess the third rule. Just don't be greedy. No fear, but no guilt
and no greed.
and no greed.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you.
This was amazing. I'm so happy we made it happen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.